Everyone. I know last week I promised that I would get to a deployment video uh, last week, um, but I wanted to go through the entire thing. I wanted to show you beginning to end everything I've built so far and how to deploy it so that this video could be kind of the all-in-one, everything you need to show whoever you need to get involved, um, the whole package, soup to nuts, whatever metaphor you want to use. So in this video, I want to demo what I've done so far, first and foremost, and then I'm going to actually set it up on a Linux VM and a Windows VM. Um, and along the way, I'll show you the documentation site, the release site, and a couple other stops along the way. So let's get right into a demo. So here's the tool. And when you land on the home page, your first option is to search the archives. So let's search for something um, like printer, and you can see we get a couple results. Right now, this searches incident and knowledge article, though in the future I plan on adding support for any business object you want to search. You can also browse business objects, uh, and this page shows all major business objects. Um, so incident, of course, is the go-to one. Let me actually zoom out a little bit so you can see the full effect. This is using the business object grid that's configured in Cherwell. So whatever you see in Cherwell, if you show a grid of incidents, that's what you should see here. And you can drill into one of them, and it will show you more or less the BizOb form that you're expecting to see, along with the form arrangement tabs, uh, along with, in this case, there's a related CI, there are some similar incidents, that sort of thing. If we go back to browse, we can even see a configuration item. And this is interesting because it's a group business object, right? So each individual configuration item has its own form, and you can see when it loads a printer, shows up the way a printer is supposed to look. And if we go back to the list, here's a network device, it's a firewall, and it shows the way a firewall is supposed to look, along with the appropriate form arrangement, related business objects, and all that. Finally, we have saved searches. So incident again, that's kind of where we go to with all the demos. We can see, let's say, all closed incidents. There you go. This is the result of that saved search. Again, just like you had in Cherwell, just running inside of a different tool. So you can get to all of your data in your database without going through CSM. So that's great. That's the demo. How do you get this set up on your data? Well, first and foremost, you can always reach out to me and I can help you get it set up on your data. But if you want to try out the tool for yourself um, before reaching out to me, we do have a documentation site, and it's docs.thoughtcolony.com. It'll be linked down in the description below, along with actually a link to that demo that I was just showing. And this is our documentation site. There are a few pages right now, and we'll continue to expand it both as we document the features that are already in the tool and as we add more features. Along those lines, if there's something that you want to see that we don't have yet, let us know. There will be contact information down in the video description. The first page on the doc site is getting started. This is a .NET Core app, or I guess it's just called .NET now. It's using .NET 7 with Blazor, so it's all just a .NET app. There's no additional deployment requirements other than run the .NET app somewhere that .NET apps can run. And we actually have a couple different ways that we've packaged it up. We have self-contained, what are called self-contained builds for Windows and for Linux. And then if you're running .NET 7 on any platform, we support that as well. There's nothing stopping you from using the .NET 7 uh, version if you're running on Linux or running on Windows. It's just giving you options. And this link goes off to our release site where you can download those builds. We support running in IIS and or we support running as a standalone binary. And depending on how you run it, there are different configuration requirements. So if you run it as a standalone binary, you can either use environment variables. Those are fairly typical for either containerized environments or ephemeral VM type environments. Or if you're more comfortable with configuration files, you can do that route. If you're using IIS, I'm pretty sure the only way you can configure is through the configuration files. I don't think that environment supports environment variables. The demo that I just showed, this tab up here, is running in a container. We do have an official container image for the tool. It's just not publicly available yet. That'll be coming soon, and there's some notes in the documentation about that. So keep an eye on the documentation if you're interested in running using Docker. So with that, let's jump into, let's start with Linux, and then we'll go to IIS. So for Linux, one place that you could run a Linux VM, obviously there are many places, but you can do something like running a virtual machine via Azure, and you can pick the Ubuntu option, for instance. Configure whatever you want. I created one I have sitting over here, and I just took all of the defaults. I think the only change that I made was in network settings. I added a rule for port 5000. That's because that's the default port that the tool runs on. Typically, if you're going to run this on Linux, you're going to be running behind a reverse proxy or something like that. So realistically, you'd either use Azure's reverse proxy load balancer setup, which is how I'm doing it for the demo site, or you might use Nginx or something like that. I leave exactly how to do this and exactly how you want to do this kind of up to you and your needs. Obviously, if you have questions about that and want recommendations, happy to provide them. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm just running it on a Linux machine. So let's SSH into this Linux machine and actually get it set up. First, I'm going to run off to our release site, which is releases.thoughtcolony.com. Again, all of this will be linked down in the description below. I'm going to go to archives, because that's the name of the software, v1.0.0. You may see versions with just a scramble of letters and numbers periodically show up. Those are kind of internal builds that we use between our numbered releases if we want to test something out in an environment that's not one of our local dev environments. So you can safely ignore those unless you're specifically told, go use that weird version name. But for right now, you'll want to click 1.0.0. Then here are those three options. So since we're going to run on a Linux machine, I'm going to copy the link to Linux x64. I don't want to download it because I'm on my Mac right now. So we'll just copy link address. Then we'll go over to our Linux machine and let's wget that. That'll take a few seconds. Now it's downloaded. And now let's unzip that. That'd be that. And now you'll see we have a directory that's just been unpacked. So let's cd into that and see what's going on inside there. Lots of files. That's because this is a self-contained build. So there are a lot of DLLs that typically would come with a .NET framework. But because this is a self-contained build, there's no .NET framework. There's no .NET framework installed on this machine. So it's all bundled into this this self-contained build. It does mean it's a little bit bigger, but I didn't have to configure a .NET framework, a .NET runtime on this Linux machine. So if I run the command, actually, let me clear that and get some more space. If I run the command thoughtcolony.trevor-search, you'll see it spin up, and you'll notice it says system is unlicensed, result sets will be limited to 10 rows. I'll show you that in just a second. And in just a second here, you'll see it dies because it doesn't have access to SQL Server, right? This is where this configuration comes in. So let's Control C that and clear. And I'm actually going to copy an app settings JSON that I created earlier. So let's just do that. And this contains a live SQL connection string. So now I can actually run this command, and I'm actually going to specify the command slightly differently to allow external connections from outside of this machine. By default, it only runs, and this is a .NET kind of base project thing. By default, it'll only allow connections from the local machine. In order to allow connections from outside the machine, you have to tell it. So we're going to find that command. Here we go. ASP.NET Core URLs equals 0000 colon 5000. Let's run that. And again, we get the message about it being unlicensed, but now we can see it running database queries successfully. And let's actually view the site on that machine. So copy that IP address, open up a new tab, colon 5000, and there we go. This is exactly the same site as I demoed up here, just running on a Linux machine. So let's browse some business objects. We get a notice that things will be limited to 10 records. And if we look at incident, we'll see we only get 10 records. But we can still drill into individual incidents, same as before, same as on the demo site. All right, cool. So that's Linux. So let's look at Windows. Windows, obviously a little bit different because we get a GUI right on the VM. And this Windows machine, you can see I've already installed Cherwell on it. You don't need to have Cherwell installed on it. It's just, this is the VM that I had set up. And first things first, you want to go off to the documentation site and click Get Started. And down in the IIS instructions, step 1 is install the ASP.NET Core module / hosting bundle. I wish Microsoft came up with a better name for this, but that's what they called it. So you want to run off to this page and then click this link down here, current .NET Core hosting bundle installer. I've already done that so that I don't waste your time. After you install that, you do have to restart IIS. You don't have to restart the machine, just restarting IIS is sufficient. And then you're ready to run .NET Core apps. So in this case, we'll grab the Win x64. Again, this bundles the runtime with it. I don't actually have .NET 7 installed on this machine. I just, 4.8 or whatever Cherwell needs. So let's go ahead and download that. And now it's downloaded. And let's open file. And I'm going to put this, I just copied that directory, and I'm going to put this in the C drive. It just needs to be somewhere that IIS has access to it, right? So in just a few moments, that'll be installed. And you can actually see here, I've cheated again. I have an app settings all ready to go. We have to do the same sort of thing here that we did in Linux. Obviously, on the Linux side, I could have used environment variables for the demo. I figured it'd just be easier just to use a file. But it looks like we're getting close to that directory being copied. All right, so now that that's all set up, let's go ahead and drop our proper app settings in here. And of course, it's going to say, hey, it already exists. Do you want to replace? Well, yes, I do want to replace. Now let's configure this site, or more accurately, the application in IIS. So here I have my IIS configuration, various sites. This one only has one. Let's go ahead and default website, add application. I apologize if this is a little small on the screen. Um, I'm not sure that I can zoom in on the video um, while I'm in a remote machine. So open this up on a computer and zoom in if you can. Um, Otherwise, follow the information and the steps on the docs site. Again, docs.thoughtcolony.com. So let's create a name for this. Let's just call it archives. Default app pool is fine. We're just doing this for a demo. And for the physical path, we're going to pick that folder where we unzipped unzipped the files we downloaded. Don't select www root. Select the main folder. So archives win x64 v1.0.0. Say OK. That's everything you need to configure here. If you have a particular setup, obviously go for it. But those are the only absolute requirements. We'll say OK, and we can see it shows up in the left bar here. Let's go check it out. So here's localhost. This is just the same browser on the same machine. And obviously we're running IIS. And let's add archives. And again, Edge is giving me away. I've prepped this demo. I know this works. So I'm going to hit enter. Obviously it's IIS, so it takes a couple seconds to spin up. And is it not going to work for the demo? That's pretty cool. I promise this worked 5 minutes ago, or 20 minutes ago. Well, I will figure out what's going on with this, and I'll leave the information down in the description below. All of those steps should work, but read the description below to see where I screwed up. Sorry about that. The demo gods are not on my side today. In any event, that's how you get this set up. So again, just to recap, docs.thoughtcolony.com is how you can find all the information about everything that I just talked about. You can go to get started and learn all about the process. Every piece is linked from here. So where to download, how to download that specific thing for IIS, how to set it up for Linux, some discussion about Docker, and who knows, maybe by the time you see this video, we'll actually have Docker available for you. And there's also this link here to the demo site. That demo site actually gets updated as we build things. So you might see things on that demo site that don't exist in the v1.0.0 builds. But we will try to get builds out, fairly rapidly. So with that, hope you found all the answers here. If you didn't find all the answers you were looking for, go ahead and leave a comment down below. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, shoot us an email if you want to get this set up on your own software. Wow, on your own database. Um, yeah, we'd love to have it working for you on your data and uh, keep uh, enable you to keep access to all of your Cherwell data because let's face it, you probably need it for auditing, for archival. Um, let's make it happen. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.